You're listening to The Pete Shepard Show.
Welcome to another edition of The Pete Shepard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. It is August 14th. It is a hump day Wednesday. And we got a lot. I'm telling you, today's show is going to be mostly about football. Lots of NFL video, lots of college football stuff to update you on. We didn't get to a lot yesterday because of the Durant situation with the Red Sox and some other stuff. But today, that's all behind the past. We'll have an MLB rundown a little bit later on. Bill Spiro is going to join the show for his weekly visit at 8:30. Lots going on. From the Boston Herald and the senior betting analyst from bookies.com. Some couple of really big stories that are out there that Bill is going to update us on at 8:30. But it's going to be NFL. My Vikings fans out there, I feel for you. It's horrible what happened to J.J. McCarthy. We're finding out. We're going to get right to Adam Schefter's latest update. It does not look good. I hate to see. And McCarthy looked, the highlights that I saw looked really good in his preseason game. He's one of the most intriguing players, or at least rookies, I think, this year, because of what we didn't get to see from him at Michigan. Not his fault, just, again, how many times do you have to say it when you have two backs that average 6 yards a carry? He didn't really have to. We needed to see what he could do, or wanted to see what he could do if we had to carry a team with his arm. We know what he did in high school. He was a wrecking machine. But anyway, it is not, the forecast for him does not look good. Brandon Ayuk and the San Francisco 49ers, apparently John Lynch, the GM, and Omar Khan for the Steelers. Apparently they have some sort of a deal in place here, which if this gets done today, I will be fascinated by it. I know the 49ers also have a long-term contract in place for Ayuk, but apparently there's a deal on the table with the Steelers. And I'm just trying to figure out if the 49ers wanted a player back, as I've said time and time again. I don't know what Pittsburgh wants to give up, or its draft picks, whatever, but that is definitely a story. We're going to hear from Mike McDaniel from the Miami Dolphins yesterday as well. More drama with the Jets. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. Hassan Reddick, the Jets put out a statement saying, we're not trading him. Okay. We'll hear from Coach Saleh, and Aaron Rodgers, of course, is going to chime in as well. Flava Flav in the news for the Olympics, giving that young lady Childs, she got screwed out of a gold medal by 4 seconds, apparently. And he gave her a medal with a whole bunch of diamonds in it. Isn't that nice? It's college football news, and it fits my agenda, which is why I'm going to play the video of Greg McElroy once again, telling the entire nation, not me, about how the Hurricanes got screwed in the preseason AP poll, being 19th, and I know he had them much higher than that. We'll hear from him. And the Texas Longhorns, oh my God. So Coach Sarkisian lost another running back yesterday. It is horrible. Christian Clark, the true freshman running back, tore his Achilles tendon at practice yesterday, 6 days after announcing C.J. Baxter's season is over as well. So that's a major story in college football, especially for the University of Texas and the Longhorns coming into the SEC this year, and you lose arguably your top two backs. They only have 3, if you can believe it, Angel, they only have 3 scholarship running backs left right now. Only 3. Jaden Blue, he appeared in 23 games in Texas, rushed for 431 yards with 3 touchdowns. He's supposed to probably move into the RB1. He had 4 catches for 45 yards in last year's loss to Washington in the semifinal. And then they have a sophomore, Quintvarian Wisner, who played in all 14 games last year on special teams. And then you have another freshman, Jarrett Gibson, who was ranked as the number 2 running back and the number 59 prospect in this year's ESPN 300 class. So that is going to be really something. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian telling reporters on Monday that Clark and Gibson, despite both fumbling in Saturday's scrimmage and what he described as a welcome to college football moment, quote unquote, we're coming along and we're further down the road than many think. Now, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers said definitely going to hurt to see that. There's no question. 3 scholarship running backs left and 2 are freshmen. Man, oh man, that's one's a freshman, but and one with very little experience, only on special teams. So that's there's that in college football and a whole lot more. Let me say good morning to Angel Martinez. Hello, good morning, Angel. How are you?
Good morning, Pete, and good morning to Jerry in Rhode Island, Gas Pump Guy, and everyone who listens in the morning. We appreciate you guys, as always, to tune in here live, 7 to 10 a.m., the Pete Shepard Show. But good. Again, we mentioned yesterday at the beginning of the show, as far as the weather, we got another cloudy start here in Tampa, but what else is kind of new as it is summertime. But did you also notice you had mentioned quickly about the Olympics and Flavor Flav and
Yeah,
the medal?
yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the article that's going around now? The actual medals that were given out by Paris. Apparently, they're like the worth of a penny, where a lot of them are starting to fade and discolor.
Like gold plated. I mean,
Well,
that's this. They're supposed to be. I don't know the chemistry of the metals. What's actually in a bronze, a gold, or a silver. I imagine there's not a lot of gold, a lot of silver, or a lot of bronze. It's amazing what paint can do.
Yep. And it
Yeah,
seems
so that's interesting. That's it. So you put the metal on, it turns your skin green because after a while, I mean that kind of thing is. We talking about that kind of cheapness.
thankfully not yet. No one's complaining about turning their skin green, but you can see like some of the male athletes, the runners, and then even some of the swimmers, they're saying as they went around Paris and on display and having their medal and stuff, that they've come home. And I don't know if it was maybe going from Paris back to the U.S. and where everybody's from, but it's all become like discolored. It looks like you get a brand new penny that comes from the bank, you accidentally drop it in the water, all of a sudden just turns that goofy looking color. It's almost the same way with the medal. So supposed alleged Paris is going to be redoing them and then sending them to the athletes. I guess as one that you just put on your trophy case and never take outside.
But the manufacturer just put the wrong chemicals in.
Apparently.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in this day and age. It's and I think once you get the medal anyway, you're not really wearing it. You wear it for a little while, but then you put it in a plaque and stick it on a wall so you can sell it in 20 years when you need money. That's what a lot of people do.
Like the Super Bowl rings we've seen going around.
Oh, please. That's a whole other thing. Super Bowl rings, especially, more rings are sold like AFC championship rings, NFC championship rings, guys that almost got there but couldn't quite get there. And then after like several years, are like, I'm not wearing this freaking thing. I'm not going to, nobody wants to be remembered for second place.
True.
Nobody, not for that period. I mean, it's an honor. A lot of people would like to get there. A lot of players have never gotten there and probably will get there. But anywho. Thanks for checking us out on the video platform, the Coastal Sports Network video platform on Twitter X. Follow me at pshep326 on Facebook at SR1029 The Game, and then SR1029thegame.com is how you can download the app. We're powered by Ion Tampa Bay, Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. You can call or text at 727-858-6650. We told you earlier this week was back in Florida anyway, was back to school for Lee County. Yesterday was back to school for Collier County. And today, Angel, I was watching the news this morning. Today is move-in day at Florida Gulf Coast University, FGCU, right down the street from me. About 10 minutes, not quite down the street, but 10 minutes away. And it's probably going to be like that way at FAU, FIU, Miami. I'm sure it's becoming that time.
Yep.
I can't believe, and I was watching with some of these. I got to say, they showed mostly girls moving in. What a whole lot of shit that they bring in. Really, it just seems a lot of it unnecessary. Men are like, I'll take one bag, and I'll deal with the rest of it later. Give me all the underwear I have, and especially down here in Florida, it's going to be sunny and 80, 90% of the time. But I mean, you should have seen the size of some of the refrigerators these girls were moving in. They're not the girls, the parents. Moving in. It's amazing to me. And then FGCU is a beautiful campus. You got water views and everything else. I mean, it's one of those campuses where it's hard to. I would find it hard to study.
I think, yeah. I think I saw like pictures of it last year when like moving day, and then like a week later after everybody was settled in, like, how do you go to class? Like it's so pristine, like and you feel like
Well,
you're on vacation.
well, it is. I said the same thing. Haven't been to California a couple, but I've never been to Pepperdine University, which is a very strict, I mean, strict university academic school. It's on Malibu Beach. How do you study when you're on Malibu Beach? I mean, remarkable discipline that you have to have. I mean, I couldn't do it. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. It's why I'm doing this for 38 years. You know,
I think well, Target
I
last
couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle a 4-year school. I went to a 6-month school, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which I love. Hall of Famer, by the way. Thank you. And but I knew after high school, and I went through a very academic regimen, pretty high end, that I feel like I got a college education out of my high school. But
Mhm.
I knew once I wanted to get into radio, which is about a year and a half after high school. Then the rest was history. I wanted to follow my passion. I was very lucky. I've been very lucky and fortunate along the way to work with and be at some great events. But to go to some of these schools, I don't know how kids, even USF, USF, that's a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
My buddy went there. His dorm room was on the eighth hole. There's a golf course outside. I was like, Jeff. I'm like, are you kidding me? How do you do it? You know,
Yeah.
you have to have remarkable discipline to go to class in warm weather, where it's 99% of the time going to be beautiful weather, like it is down here, and maybe a little humid at times. But you're going to get when it's sunny and warm, basically, and here in Florida and California, other parts of the Phoenix and again Arizona State. I don't know how you do it. Plus, I think there's 55% girls and they get to 45% boys at that school.
That's a huge ratio.
It is.
Huge ratio.
Of course, I'm looking out for the single gentlemen out there and the young ladies out there. I'm just saying. I do think that my experience is the young ladies are far more disciplined than the men, because it's about time management when you get
Right.
to college. I mean, it really is about time management. And if you're playing a sport, that just all bets are off now. I mean, you got to really, really. In high school, you get done with class, you go practice, usually 3 to 5, 3 to 6, whatever it is. If you have a game, it's basketball or hockey, it's at night. If it's track and field or baseball, it's during the day. You're usually done back home by 6 o'clock. When you're in college and you're playing big time Division I sports, your life completely, you have. If you are inclined to study or really want to get a degree, you have to manage your time incredibly well, especially, and that's why back in the day, freshmen weren't allowed to play varsity sports in college. You had to wait because you had to get adjusted. Um, but anyway, we digress. Anyway, it's move-in day for Florida Gulf Coast University, so happy move-in day, and hopefully you all will have a very healthy and happy, successful year.
By the
All
way,
right, and yes,
gas pump guy. Let me put majority of it up there because then he follows it up with this is good morning, guys. Whoops, let me bring this one back up. Good morning, fellas. Hope you guys have a great day. The company I worked for did all the windows on the 2 newest buildings that are out there. When I was working out there, sometimes it was hard to concentrate, if you know what I mean. I think he's talking about the one.
oh, at FGCU, yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I mean,
It's
come
freaking,
on.
it's insane. I'm telling you, I've seen the pictures. Like I listen. I again, for those who are new to the show, I was a complete nerd when I was in school up until I joined the military. Then you got to get out of your nerdism as far as being shy to talk to women. But I couldn't imagine being on that campus. It would just, and I'm not even talking about as far as the thinking about as far as when it comes to women. It's just like I would feel like, why do I have to go to class? I could just lay out and tan or do something else. And it's just impossible. A hell of a beautiful campus.
It is in more ways than one. No, it really is, and they got the only thing missing is a football team, but they actually have. FGCU has amazing baseball team. They've been nationally ranked many times since I've been down here. The softball team is fantastic. They were in the NCAA tournament last year, and people don't realize too they have arguably they have won or have had one of the best club hockey teams in the country. Amazing hockey players that go to FGCU. You wouldn't think it, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. They at one point were 99-1 in 100 games, stuff like that. So,
now, is this also the same school that has back-to-back volleyball champs?
yeah. The volleyball champs are FSW on the other side of Fort Myers, which is a lower division. They've had the volleyball team, but FGCU has a regular volleyball team, and of course they have the beach volleyball team, which is always fun for the whole family. So, all right. Anywho, so happy moving day to our friends at FGCU. Great stuff. All right. Meanwhile, I think it's the fourth story down, Angel, on my Twitter page. We'll start with this couple of Adam Schefter. I want to start with this one, the Pat McAfee show yesterday. And my friends, my Minnesota Viking fans, which I know a lot of them, especially in my neighborhood where I live now. This was horrible. You hate to see this. And anyway, I'll let Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show yesterday give you an update of what's going on with JJ McCarthy.
But this comes after he says he has soreness. And what are we looking at down the road now, Shefty?
Well, essentially, Pat, they went in, they did an MRI on Monday night, and they found the torn meniscus. And now the question is whether he will need just a trimming of that meniscus or whether he will need a complete repair. There are two very different timelines for each surgery, depending on what doctors believe is the best option. So we don't know right now whether he's going to be out multiple weeks or potentially a whole lot longer. For JJ McCarthy, the surgery will determine exactly how long he's out. But I think for now, suffice it to say, you hope that he comes back from this. You hope he comes back from this quickly. And the Vikings are now going to prepare Sam Darnold to start opening day against the Giants in New York, New Jersey. And that's going to be the path they have to take because JJ is going to need this surgery after undergoing that MRI on Monday night.
But this comes after he says he has soreness. And what are we looking at down the road now, Shefty?
Well, essentially, Pat, they went in, they did an MRI on.
It just repeated.
Yep.
So if we could go back up to the first cut I have, NFL on ESPN. So that was yesterday afternoon on Pat McAfee show. Later on, NFL on ESPN. Here's another update from Adam Schefter. It's the first one right under the show. There you go.
Well, here's the situation. He had extensive testing last night, as Kevin O'Connell noted. There was an MRI performed, and there was a determination made to undergo surgery. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and Stephania Bell can also comment on it. There are two options. Doctors can either trim his meniscus or repair his meniscus. If they determine that they can trim it, he will be expected to be sidelined for weeks. If they decide they have to repair it, he would be sidelined for months. So there is a huge difference that Stephania can address here as to what they're going to do with JJ McCarthy. But they know that he's going to be sidelined for some amount of time. The question is whether it will be the weeks or the months, depending on how the surgery on the torn meniscus goes. And in the interim, JJ McCarthy will be given the time he needs to get well. They will focus on getting Sam Darnold ready for the regular season opener against the New York Giants and possibly beyond. But the next big news out of Minnesota will be what doctors found and what they decided to do to treat the injury.
Man, oh man. It sounds like initially you're going in for a bad haircut fix, a trim or a repair. This is about a meniscus, and that is it's just you hate to see it. You hate to see it, especially from a rookie. And he looked pretty good. I know he threw an interception against the Raiders, but overall, the highlights that I saw, he looked really good. Surprisingly good. And to have this happen and then to hear those two words, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, this is not like, Joe DiMaggio and for Wally Pipp, that type of thing, or it just sucks if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan.
Yeah. Because you feel like your season's already crashed. I mean, you already lost Kirk Cousins. I mean, granted, you a nice upgrade of McCarthy, but you would think that he was going to be the one that's going to be starting. But unfortunately now he's out. And that just makes it even more difficult. By the way, Gaspom guy says, do you think Sam Darnold will be able to keep the Vikings afloat until McCarthy gets back? I mean, he's a rookie, so it's whatever
Let me tell you something. My answer to that is no. And even with JJ McCarthy there,
Right.
listen to the schedule, the first 4 or 5 games, okay?
Okay.
As you just heard Sheffy say, so they open up in Jersey at MetLife at the Giants. I think if JJ McCarthy were playing in that game, I'd like the Vikings. I think they'd have a good shot. We don't know what the Giants are going to be. I have no idea how they're going to be without Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. I have no idea. Anyway, that's going to be a tough opening game for the Vikings. Then they're home against the San Francisco 49ers, who will be coming off a short week after beating up on the Jets. Then they're home against the Houston Texans, a team that is favored by many to be at least in the AFC Championship game this year. And I mean, there's a long way to go, but that is regardless of what speculation is for the Texans, that's a hell of a football team.
Mm-hmm.
We think. Week 4 at Green Bay against Jordan Love and the Packers.
Shakes.
That's your first 4 games. And then they're home against the Jets, and then home against the Lions, and then at the Rams. That is a very, very tough schedule out of the gate for the Minnesota Vikings. It really is. Giants, home against San Fran, home against the Texans, at Green Bay, home against the Jets, and home against the Lions. That's going to be tough. And the big factor is going to be, again, whether we trim or repair the meniscus of J.J. McCarthy.
And from what I read, that supposedly they didn't know anything until he brought up to their attention. I think it was on Monday when he said he felt something kind of funny and brought it up to the staff, but no one knew. And it was because after he played a series, he didn't play the whole thing in the preseason, but it wasn't until Monday when he finally came forward and said, "Hey, something feels funny."
Yeah, it really is. And let me see what else information. Yeah, again, like you said, I mean, he didn't mention any pain or soreness until Monday, and he said on X, he said, "Love you, Viking Nation. I'll be back in no time. I'm more fatigued." Referencing the belief that one should appreciate all experiences in life, regardless of whether they are pleasant. Yeah, I love when the players speak Latin. That's great. So, if it's a full, let's be perfectly clear here. A trim, he's back in a few weeks, and a trim means he'll return this season. A few weeks, I wouldn't plan on him being there for the month of September, even with the trim of the meniscus. Mm-hmm. I would say mid to late October at the earliest. If it is repair, sayonara 2024, hello 2025. There's no way a repaired meniscus. I would be stunned if he'd be returning for the season, regular season at all. I just don't see it. So
even with the small repair, Pete, would you really want what's supposed to be your future to come back in the same season? And let's say, okay,
I think because football players want to play football,
right?
They want to play. There are those that, especially a rookie like this. I mean, he doesn't want to sit out the season. But doctors, are going to say, they might, or sometimes you get this. Well, can he hurt it? Can it get worse if he continued to play, even if it was just a trim? Can it get any worse? If I continue to play. Now, some injuries you can get away with, and doctors will tell you, yeah, you can't get any worse if you play. But in this particular situation, if a doctor says, "Hey, JJ, we got to repair this thing. We can't trim it. We have to repair it." It's unfortunate, but you're going to have to sit out the season. It's a shame when it happens. We've seen it a bunch of times before in the past, and every single sport happens. A lot of times happens in camp. You see we went through the camp injuries the other day, just in some non-contact drills, people going down. So I think he wants to play, Angel, but I think he will abide by the doctor's official ruling. If they do have to repair it, he's going to be done for the year. It's really unfortunate. So they signed Sam Darnold. He signed a 1-year deal worth $10 million just this past March, after spending last year as the backup with the 49ers. And there's no question that he would be the Viking starter in week 1. Let's see. And now you wonder, had the Vikings known this, would they have still traded Kirk Cousins, who's going to be starting for the Atlanta Falcons coming up this year as well? But you can't think that way. Hindsight is 20/20. But just a shame. Hate to see it. Hate to see that. The Brandon Ayuk situation is also a very interesting one for me because the crazy saga continues. The Steelers reportedly, according to NFL Network, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a deal on a potential trade for the 49ers. Steelers also in a good place when it comes to a possible long-term deal for Ayuk if the 49ers sign off on the trade. Report also stated that the 49ers have sent Ayuk, which we talked about the other day, a long-term contract offer, but he has not accepted at this time. The two sides simply have not been able to find common ground on an extension despite months of trying. So it may come down to who's got the better Jedi mind trick, John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, Omar Khan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It might be like that scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end, they're fighting big and Revenge of the, and it's they just repel each other. And anyway, don't try it. I have the high ground, Anakin. That was pretty cool when he cut off his other arm and both legs on that one leap that Anakin tried because his ego got too big. And Obi-Wan literally cut him down. All right, quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Gerard Mayo. He has an interesting take on if the Eagles and the Patriots, they started joint practices yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit. But Gerard Mayo has an interesting take about what's going to happen to some of his players if they do get into a fight with some of the Eagles, whether they would agree or disagree. We'll also hear from Coach McDaniel for the Miami Dolphins and a whole lot more, some college football. There's lots of video to play today. 8:15, the Red Sox report, but sponsored by Moynihan Lumber coming up. 8:30, Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst at bookies.com. Lots to talk about with him there. And again, more college football news as well. All part of the Pete Shepard Show here on a Hump Day Wednesday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak from Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
That scream was all the Vikings fans out there after they're about to lose J.J. McCarthy for, hopefully it's not the whole season, but certainly it's going to be, he's going to be out probably for at least a month, if not a little bit longer to start. That's a very tough schedule, as you just said, that the Vikings have right out of the gate. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out here on the Coastal Sports Network video platform. You can always call or text the show as well, 727-858-6650. Angel Martinez in the house. Hey, good news for this weekend, though, Angel. The hurricane, two good things. One, the Ernesto, which is going to be a hurricane at any moment, is going to miss Florida completely. Or, I mean, maybe a tiny bit of a backlash on the East Coast anyway. But it's going to veer this way. It's going to veer off towards the Carolinas up that way, and hopefully they'll be okay. But what it is going to do, and I heard this morning from Tampa all the way down here in Fort Myers, a drier air coming in. So, it might still be a little rain here and there. Temperatures in the upper 80s, low 90s, but much drier and less humid. So I was on the golf course yesterday. I made it through 8 holes before I almost collapsed. It was because it felt like 110, and I was playing on an executive course with a friend, and it just couldn't do it. I was playing pretty well too. I hadn't played in a while, a couple of months, and I was hitting the ball pretty well. But I mean, I got to the 8th hole, and I was like, as much water as I was drinking and stuff. It's so just be careful. And nobody was on the course. I was the only one. Me and my buddy were the only ones dumb enough to go out there to try and get. We're going to try to get 18 holes, and got only 9 in, but it didn't. It wasn't good. It was not good. So if you are out there, and I can't play early in the morning anymore, nor do I want to play at dusk because it's too crowded. So I will wait to play on weekends again when it gets just a tad cooler. just a tad cooler, but it was just a press. You just couldn't you just couldn't function. And even on this executive course, it was car path only because we've had so much rain down here. But good stuff. My friends over at Cross Creek, they do a really good job. It's a nice executive course. I love playing it because you can get done in 3 hours. If we had played 18, we probably would have got done in 2.5 hours easily because we were the only ones on the course. There was no one in front, no one behind. But it didn't work out, Angel. It just didn't work out. So to all you kids out there, stay hydrated. Especially, and seriously, when you're moving your stuff into FGCU or whatever college you're going to this week, it's if you're in Florida, it's warm.
Oh yeah.
So you got to hydrate.
Good thing is
All right.
we decided to stop because you could. I mean, before you can't collapse, and that's the worst part.
Yeah, absolutely, you can. Okay, let's continue here. Let's move on to some more video. If we could go scroll down, Pat McAfee, the Jets and Hassan Reddick are both in a tough spot. Here again on the Pat McAfee Show, and Adam Schefter addresses this. The Jets and Hassan Reddick both in a tough spot. And then we'll get Swagoo's reaction after that. Here we go.
Schefter, you mentioned New York, New Jersey. What's going on with Hassan Reddick in his whole situation, now requesting a trade from the Jets, and he hasn't even been there yet? How do you see this thing kind of playing out?
Well, they're in a tough spot, both sides right now, because essentially Hassan Reddick shows up to the Jets complex after the trade's completed, goes through the introductory press conference, praises
Angel, I'm getting
the organization, takes his physical, and basically...
What are you getting?
It's feedback in my headset with him talking. I can hear it's listenable, but it's not. I feel like it's not as clear as maybe it's just my headset. Maybe it's just coming. Maybe over the. Anyway, okay, we'll just continue it.
That's the last time we've seen or heard from Hassan Reddick until he issues the trade request, which obviously the Jets say they're not going to honor. So we've got a guy who says he's not showing up without a contract. We've got a team who says they're not paying the player unless he shows up. We've got both sides dug in to their stances, and we've got a situation that doesn't help anybody. So at some point in time, somebody has to step up and try to figure out a solution to this particular situation that is dragged on during the offseason into training camp. 4.5 months right now. Hassan Reddick is scheduled to make $14.25 million in the last year of his deal. It's exactly why Philadelphia traded him. The Eagles were not prepared to pay him what he wanted. The Jets thought they might be able to work out a deal, but they stopped talking to him. The last offer that they made to him essentially was right at the time of the trade. It was a subpar offer in Hassan Reddick's estimation and opinion. He didn't take it, and there have been no further contract talks since then. And so now we're at a stalemate.
He wants $24 million a year. That's what he's looking at. He wants $24 million a year. Now, if we scroll one up there from Angel, and we will hear what Marcus Spears has to say. One of my favorite people on ESPN by far. And he had this to offer about what's going on with Reddick.
Already 30 years old. This man has 50 sacks in the last, 3 or 5 years in the NFL. You traded for him. And obviously, when guys of this caliber get traded for it, they think a new contract is going to come along with that. I don't care about all of the damn camp and who got leverage and all of that. Hassan Reddick is smart enough to know that the New York Jets traded for him because of what he does off the edge and how he can pressure quarterbacks. And there's a premium that's on that. And for you to say he needs to be, what the hell he need to be in camp for? What he gonna prove in camp that he ain't proved over the last 3 to 5 years in the damn NFL for you to give him some money in order for him to play at the level that you expected him to when you traded for him? And let me get this news flash to everybody in America. You don't trade for players that you don't think immediately can help you, okay? That's every organization and franchise in the NFL. We watched this guy have 19 and a half sacks 2 years ago. and going to the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, and you trade for him, and his expectation is to get a new deal when you trade for him, and you tell him, we need you to practice so we can see how good you are before we pay you. Man, get the hell out of here.
Swagger, he's right, but except Marcus, you know better because of the organization that you're talking about. That's Jet football, baby. Organized. It's not even organized chaos. It's a disorganized family. Has been since 1968 on the whole.
Jeez,
Get the hell out of here with that. Oh, man, you got to love him. If we could, Angel, could we head over to Total Sports Prep stuff and scroll down in the NFL? It's down on page 2 because we have some reaction from Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh as well. And that's the first cut. We'll just go in order here. The first cut is right at the bottom of page 1. Jets. Aaron Rodgers not concerned about needing to play in the preseason. This from SNY.
Preseason is not what it used to be. It's to see if young guys, once the lights go on and the pads go on and the tackling happens, if they can show up or if they don't. So what's there to gain? Just going out there and being back on the field in a situation where you could get hit. But the way we get after our defense today, I think the next few days, a few times we go against them, I'm going to be worried about getting hit as well.
I was thinking kind of more from the perspective of, it's been obviously a year now. You got some new offensive line, you guys, just for you to have some, whether it's a series or two, for example.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, preseason it's not real football.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's real football when you haven't really had a lot of reps with your. I mean, and I know you have in practice, but I don't know. It's not real football. Okay, what kind of message does that send? I mean, I get it, but geez, I mean, let's go to cut number 2 there. Aaron Rodgers on Hassan Reddick. This also from SNY Network.
And what's your take on a situation where a teammate requests a trade, even though he has yet to have a single practice with that team?
Well, there's always new things in the league that, I've been around 20 years. I've seen a lot of stuff. I think as players, we always first try and side with the player because you know what it's like to be a player. I've played against Hassan before. I don't know him well. I've had a couple messages with him, I believe, when he got traded. Obviously, we'd love for him to be here, but, we don't judge him for trying to do what's best for him. I think what's best for him is to be a Jet because this is going to be a fun ride. But, he's got to make the best decision for him and his family.
All right. We continue on. Right under that, Coach Robert Saleh says Hassan Reddick's situation is not a distraction for the Jets.
What's your reaction to Hassan? I'm not going to elaborate any more than Joe did. It is what it is. I'm going to focus on the guys who are here.
You're focused on those guys, Robert, but how do you avoid this being a distraction?
It's not. I promise you it's not. It's a great opportunity for the guys who are here. We love our D-line. We love our depth, especially at the DM position. And guys like Will McDonald, even Jermaine Johnson, Tack McKinley's getting a lot of run. So is Watts and McGregor and Clemens and Jalen. So we've got a lot of really good depth at the defensive end position, and they're all taking advantage of the extra opportunities that they're getting because of it.
All right, and finally, Robert Saleh will embrace Hassan Reddick, just like, remember the abominable snowman and Bugs Bunny? I will hug him and squeeze him and call him George, except you will call him Hassan. He says he will embrace him when he's ready to come back.
Unbelievable.
It's not frustrating because I don't have control over it, but we're, like I said, we're excited about our group. Still looking forward for him to get here when he's ready, and when he's ready, we're gonna embrace him with open arms and get ready to attack the moments that he brings to us.
Robert, obviously,
I'm not gonna get into that one.
Have you spoken to him?
I have. I'm not gonna say when.
Okay. What?
Fantastic stuff. Oh, fantastic stuff. All right, so there's the mess that is the New York Jets. We're not going to make the playoffs this year. It says right here. They have a magic 8 ball. I've used it time and time again. Will the Jets make the playoffs? No, no. The answers have been no, hell no, absolutely not, and go bleep yourself. I mean, what does that tell you? I don't need anybody. I don't need any other analysts than my magic 8 ball right over here that I have. All right, let's get back. Angela, if I could impose on you once again to go to my Twitter page, Twitter X, and scroll down. Dov Kleiman, Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo had this to say yesterday about his players if they fight with your Philadelphia Eagles in training camp or in these joint practice sessions, which began yesterday. So here's some thoughts on. There's Gerard Mayo.
It should be interesting.
Look, you don't fight in real dead. You fight real dead, you get fined, you get kicked out. It's the same thing here. And look, my message to the players, if you get in a fight out here, if you're a starter, you're going to play the whole preseason game. If you're not a starter, you won't play at all. So that's kind of my mindset with that. Look, you don't fight.
Well, that is really interesting. Okay. And then we have to come to terms with what is and what is not a fight, if it should happen. I mean, pushing and shoving is one thing. That's going to happen throughout any game, preseason, regular season. But if you get in a fight, you will play the entire preseason game. And if you're if you're a starter, and you will not play at all if you're a backup player. What if you haven't determined who the starters are yet? If I'm Drake May, I get in a fight. I want to play the whole game.
Exactly.
I want to see him play the whole game. Now, apparently yesterday, Angel, he shredded your Eagles in his first 9 passes, 9 for 9. However, it got ugly from there, apparently, in practice. They gave up, the offensive line was not good. They gave up a bunch of sacks and all that stuff. So it was a good start for Drake May. I heard him earlier, try to get some sound from him. Looked good. I'm not sure from the Philadelphia standpoint what happened yesterday. I just saw this morning on SportsCenter a couple of highlights. They highlighted Drake May and they highlighted what Gerard Mayo said. But he seemed to be have overall Drake May pretty good. We should see a lot of him tomorrow night when then the Patriots and Eagles go at it as well. I'm trying to look back and see on. Oh, no Eagles sound today. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find some Eagles sound because you want to be always like to be fair and just get as much video out there as I can. Let's see. Nope, not a lot. But I'm sure he'll be the cornerback out of Toledo. That should be interesting. I mean, you had 2 picks overall, Andrew. You got 2 defensive backs. And Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, I like to say DeJean, from Toledo and Iowa, respectively, and edge rusher from Houston Christian, the edge rusher, who I never heard of, Yalix Hunt, but you took him with your 3rd round pick, and then Will Shipley, the running back, him. We know Mr. Shipley, running back out of Clemson. He should see some time as well if he's not banged up. So that's Thursday night live on the NFL Network, so I'm happy about that. Now, this is something interesting before we go to break. Right above that, Dov Kleiman has an interesting, and I don't know if this subject should be joked about, but it's Antonio Brown. So you just, you take him with a grain of salt because this is not what I would call a big Mensa meeting between Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. And this is from CTESPN network. So they were talking about asking each other if they have CTE. Here's how that conversation went.
Afterwards? Yeah.
Do you think I got CTE?
Shoot, I don't think you got CTE.
Do you think you got CTE?
I don't think I got CTE, but we'll never know till we die.
What do you think about CTE? What is CTE?
Ain't CTE like basically like when you forget shit, or no?
No, I feel like CTE has been like a bunch of traumas that was like we go through as people.
It's like brain damage, right?
I don't want to say your brain damage because you can't live with your brain damage.
But not like
Oh
brain
my
damage.
God.
It's like a little part, like little small, like
I
ain't
feel
like
like
damage, like something
it's
like.
like I
Can you
it's
feel
like
yourself
people
getting
try to
dumber
frame
as you
CTEs
listen
as
to
a
this
concussion that you may have, but like yo, we had a bunch of concussions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like yo, you could live out the concussion.
Right.
So I feel like CTE could be a bunch of different things, but I feel like it's a characteristic of traumas that we all as people go through. Just like some of them you explain, like yo, you was 4 years old when your uncle made you play D-line and O-line for 3 years, banging another kid. You know, that's 1 yard hitting the dirt.
Straight
So
up.
that's automatically trauma as any kid. Like any kid having to go through that is building in some type of trauma because now as a kid you just become more aggressive. Now you develop anger.
Okay,
And
that's
as a kid and as
best
a
thing he
person,
said
we
yet.
all grow with our traumas. Even like me and you, our dad not being there. I mean, some of these intangibles help us to be great, but sometimes this help us hurt us, hinder us in some situation because it make us be stubborn. Because now it's like, man, we ain't getting love from our pops, so it's easy to be like, oh man, forget that person, because man, like I already, it's already trauma that you've been built with from how people treated you, and that's why we started this show because we need to be able to address some of those because you, my friend, I really care about you, like you know what I'm saying. I want to see you live forever. You got what, 8 kids, 7 kids, you know what I mean, and we got to be there for them. So it's like we got to address some of the things we go.
Wait. He's saying you got to be there for their kids. Okay, all right, we'll continue. 2 seconds.
No, wait. Okay, go ahead. But
That's
this is the same guy that his ex-girlfriend at his house in Florida not only threw furniture out of the. It's a lucky it didn't hit. There was like a 4-year-old little girl and her dad about I don't know, maybe 100 feet away. This guy threw furniture out his girlfriend's window in Florida on a balcony of 5 stories up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Threw it out and threw furniture out. And then in another instance, I think it was the same woman, she left the house. The daughter is in the cab. And it was a taxi. And the girlfriend is going out to the car. And he is throwing gummy bears shaped like penises at her as she's going into the cab. That's a true story. You can go back and look that up from a few years ago. I mean, the only part he said, I mean, yes, of course it's trauma, and of course it's brain damage. I don't know how every NFL player, especially after the movie came out a few years ago with Will Smith, that was excellent. I don't know how you don't understand what's going on and you haven't done any research at all. But yeah, I've talked about this for years, and I've interviewed high school coaches as well. The only thing Antonio Brown, what he's saying is correct. If you start in Pee Wee football, which I did not play, I was playing hockey. I didn't play Pee Wee football, but you start at like 6 years old, Pop Warner. And I'm not saying it's like that now, but if you think about it, and you're playing offense and defensive line, and boom, 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 and even at 6 years old, you're making constant contact in practice, a couple hours a day, hour and a half a day, then in a game, boom, and you're 6 years old. And you're good enough to make your high school team. So now, you're playing Pee Wee football from 6, you get to Pop Warner, and then you get to high school. You're still playing offense and defensive line. Boom, 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 boom. Practice, games, gets more intense. And then you move on to college. Boom, 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 boom. This is, if you're staying on the offensive defensive line or in any position where you're constantly there's constant impact. And then you're lucky enough to get drafted in the NFL. You're 21, 22 years old. Boom, boom, boom. Think about 16 years of constant contact. Now, I know they train guys now, or they train young kids, especially in youth football. There's certain ways now they're trying to teach them to block, not with the helmet so much, but use your body. And I understand all that, but it's still very difficult. You still see, and then if you're a running back in Pop Warner, you're still going head first a lot of the times. You're not supposed to make contact. You're making contact you're making contact most of the time with your head. And if you're playing that position of Pee Wee, same thing, boom, 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 all the way to the pros. You're talking 15, 16, 17 years of constant collision contact. So yeah, it's definitely Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Of course, it's trauma, and we've seen the horror stories from so many. I mean, Junior Seau all the way down to a whole bunch of players. So I just find it hard to believe that they're kind of so flippant about it. Like it's not. I mean, I don't know. At the end, it got a little more serious. Well, in the middle, it got a little serious. It was stupid in the beginning. Got a little more serious from Antonio Brown. And then at the end, I didn't quite understand what they were saying. George says, greetings from Curacao. Hey, George, watch that storm, man. I thought it was headed sort of maybe that way. Ernesto, so be careful. Jerry says, that's funny. Pete, everybody up here, the Dodge and everybody who had to practice and said they were horrible.
Patriots
lucky to win 1 or 2 games. Well, look, I heard some of the report. All I'm saying is what Mike Reese said this morning. Here's exactly what he said this morning on ESPN, and I'm not paraphrasing. He said Drake May started off great, 9 for 9. Then he said, but it got progressively worse. It got progressively worse as the practice went on. So the good was he started off 99. The bad was everything else after that. So yes, you're correct. So there's no question about the offensive line was sputtering and not good, at least for a big portion of practice yesterday. So I'm just going by what Mike said. I saw some of the video initially, what they allow you to take. So he started off 99, and then it got really bad after that. So it is what it is, And there's certain people that say that they go on SportsCenter, NFL Network, and it's all no matter who, it's always doom and gloom no matter what. But I trust Mike Reese implicitly. So he said there was a little bit of good, but a whole lot of bad. So the bad outdid the good yesterday, and I'm fully aware of that. So look, the total is 4.5 games for a win total for them this year. It's probably right on target. Depending on how well Drake May and others develop and if they can get that offensive line going. But yeah, and they open up against Cincinnati. And, you look at that game and it seems like it could be 40-10, even if Judon and Gonzalez are playing and the Patriots have a really good defense. But the offense, which only averaged 13.9 points a game last year, and I got to believe it has to improve on that. It can't be that bad. I'm not saying by that bad meaning they get to 15 or 16 points. But the problem I'm going to have with the Patriots, too, is how the offense has the big-time potential to put the defense in some very precarious situations because of the short field, because they can't get out of their own way. So hopefully, we saw that last year with Mac Jones so many times, even though, he made some plays here or there, and they were in a lot of those games. It was always that 1 or 2 plays that they couldn't make that really they shot themselves in the foot so many times last year. But I got to believe that the offense is going to be a little bit better. It's going to take some time, but it's got to be a little bit better. But yesterday, bad outweighed the good for the Patriots at practice. So I'm fully aware of that. And we'll see what happens on Thursday night when they play the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, quick break. Hour number 1 is in the books. Oh, on both of my okay. I got the little orange dot which says Windows need an update, but not on my watch today, you little shits. You're not going to update on my watch later on after the show. Don't you dare update on me when I don't do it sometimes too. If you don't respond, it gives you the bird and just does it. So hopefully it won't.
I got it on my so don't feel bad. So hopefully it won't update in the middle of the show.
I feel like we're going into the Nexus. Woo! All right. Anyway, hour number 2 coming up next here on the Pete Shepard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our 2nd location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak are Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. And guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Pete Shepherd Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pete Shepherd Show here on a Hump Day Wednesday on the Coastal Sports Network. Thanks for checking us out, everybody, on the video platform as well as the app. Check us out. Follow me at Twitter at PShep326. Follow me on Facebook at SR1029 The Game and SR1029TheGame.com, ION TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. And call or text the show as always, 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Spent the first hour a lot going over move-in day for Florida Gulf Coast University. I'm sure some other schools are around the state of Florida and really around the country. But we're focusing mostly today on the NFL and college football. Coming up later on at 8:15 in a few minutes, the Red Sox report brought to you by Moynihan Lumber. My boys won again last night. We'll go through all some sound from some of the games in MLB. Your Philadelphia Phillies, Angels, have lost 5 in a row at home, including being blanked last night by the Marlins.
Yeah, we can bypass that. Just don't worry about it. Bypass it.
Well, the Red Sox now, I believe, are 2 games under 500 at home, or 1 game. They were much better. Been much better on the road than at home, but they've won a few in a row now, and they're just a game behind the Kansas City Royals, who lost last night. Big game. To the Minnesota Twins. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. And then Bill Spiros at the bottom of the hour at 8:30 from the Boston Herald. That's a couple of interesting columns today about what's going on in New England with the Patriots and the Red Sox, but also the senior betting analyst from bookies.com and some interesting news in the gambling community, which we will absolutely get to. If we may, Angel, we're going to continue here on my on video platform in the NFL. Then we'll get some college football stuff as well. Jim Harbaugh says he doesn't want to go back to Michigan to be honored on the opening game against Fresno State. What a trooper. We'll get into that. We'll get into what Greg McElroy at SEC Network said about the lack of respect for my Miami Hurricanes in the latest AP college football poll. But if we could scroll down just a few, NFL on ESPN, Angel, on my Twitter, it is Mike McDaniel speaking on ESPN about, he's just a damn good coach. He's getting better at his job. The head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
There you go.
I've spent my a good portion of my career preparing to call plays, but the good news is that the first time doing it and then the second time doing it, I'm I think on the horizon there's improvement to be had for sure. As prepared as I was, there's so much that you learn with the different complexities of the NFL game, and even from practice, just calling plays is much more natural to me with a ton of reps. Imagine that. So, and then I think what's been cool is, I think the first training camp we had in 2022, we tried our first timing motion play pass route with Tyreek. And we ended up running it against the Patriots in week 1. But like that, and where we've evolved, it's player driven for sure. We have unique players with unique skill sets, so that, and really the whole group is kind of attacks things with, a new thing is a challenge. It's not a fear. So constantly tailoring the offense to the specific individuals that we have playing for us. It's always evolving. I get better at that with time, and the connectivity between me and the coaching staff and our ability to get the right ideas out there, that evolves as well. So I'm not getting worse at doing my job with these two years have I'd like to think I was prepared for them, but they were my first 2 years.
Yeah. Look, I know he's a very good offensive line coach. We know that. I understand that. But I say it all the time, and it's nothing personal. I just don't think the Miami Dolphins will ever get to a Super Bowl with this guy as a head coach.
No.
They're a very talented team. The Fox Sports just put out their top 10 teams, and had Cleveland at number 10, and Miami wasn't in the top 10, which that's ridiculous. Miami should be a top 10 team, I believe. We know their offense is going to be good. We know they're going to be competing with the Bills for the division. I would probably pick Miami to win it, to be honest with you. I think Miami will win the division in the AFC East. And then, the playoffs end up being a whole different ballgame. So he's got to come through here in the postseason. As the old preamble goes, if they remain, reasonably healthy. So we'll see. But the Dolphins on offense are powerful. Not a bad defense either. But they're probably going to win 10 or 11 games in the regular season and win the division in the AFC East. And then we'll see what happens in the postseason. But they'll battle it out with Buffalo. Both of them, I think, right around that mark, 10, 11. Maybe one of them gets to 12. But then it's playoffs is a whole different thing. If we could also continue now back on Total Sports Prep, Angel. I'm not going to go through the Bears because Hard Knocks was on last night. I'm not going to ruin it. But if we could start at the top with some of this stuff before we get to the Red Sox report. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins on the veteran leadership and competitive fire he's bringing to the team this year is from Sirius XM NFL Radio.
When I was in year 2 or 3 in Washington, it wasn't something I was doing much. I had Pierre Garçon, who played with Peyton Manning and was several years ahead of me. Deshaun Jackson, who had played with a lot of greats, was several years ahead of me. And so to go tell them, hey, this is what I want you to do, they probably would have loved it. But I just wasn't there yet to really know the league and know what they needed to hear. And I'm enjoying in year 13 seeing young players who I think are really good players and trying to just communicate and help and give direction. And they're going to help me. Once they know what I want, they're going to help me. They're really talented. And they're very coachable. And so I've really enjoyed that part of it. Kyle, Drake, Mooney, Ray, Bijan, Tyler, the list goes on of guys that are fun to work with and explosive players on our team.
It's fun to watch at practice when you're enjoying doing well. I think you checked to a run play on a coming out offense, and it really struck the defense and burned them. And you're cheering behind. I'm watching you.
Yeah.
This is fun for him.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. You notice that. It is still for me. Practice is fun. I love competing. Raheem, to his credit, has competitive periods where the ones go against the ones. It's a little less scripted, a little more free play, and it feels more like the game. And in those moments, I want to win. It's hard for me to not.
It comes out watching.
Yeah, so you want to get to the right play. And, if one missed block can be, losing the drill. And that's the way football is in the game is, hey, one missed block, we're punting. And so you feel that, and I enjoy competing, and I don't like when the defense wins right now.
Great stuff there. Pat Kerwin does a great job on Sirius XM NFL Radio. One of my favorite people in the business. He does a weekly show, a daily show with Jim Miller, the former a punter, I believe, with the Chicago Bears. Okay, right underneath that. But the problem with Kirk Cousins is not going to be offense. It's their defense. It stinks. So he's going to have to put up 40 a game, I think. Meanwhile, next cut, Matt Barry on First Take yesterday on ESPN says Lamar Jackson he tells you why he's the best player in the NFL.
All right, so story time with Matt. I think it was 2015, 2016, because this is SportsCenter. SportsCenter on the road was in Clemson for the big game between Louisville and Clemson. It was Deshaun Watson and it was Lamar Jackson. And on that night, Lamar Jackson was the best player on the football field. Forget quarterback, forget it, he's the best player on the football field. Take that now to the NFL. I don't care, receiver, running back, anybody on the field, Lamar Jackson is the best player on the field that just so happens can throw a football 60 yards while he's doing it. And so while Patrick Mahomes is great with his feet, he's an MVP, he wins Super Bowls, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. But in terms of best player, there isn't a guy on his team in this league that is the best player, period, on the team that can sling a football 60-plus yards on the run. That's why, to me, Hawk, Lamar Jackson, if we're talking about player, it's him. It's not even close.
All right. And Angel, I just checked. I can't see you on my. I know you're there because I just checked on Twitter, but I can't see you up on my screen. But I know you are there. But if we could, I just feel more comfortable when I can see you on my screen. But I know you were there on the app. Yeah. Sometimes just when you switch over video back, the black box comes up, and now there you are, happy and handsome again. All right. All right, everybody. If I may impose upon you again, Angel, we'll get back to more NFL. But if you could scroll up a bit to Total Sports Prep while you're doing that for the Red Sox and the Texas Rangers, I will tell you this: for the best articles and audio, there's only one source that provides everything you need 365 days a year to satisfy your sports crave. It's Total Sports Prep. Staff combing through the best articles and audio so you don't have to. The sports and non-sports kicker stories will leave you laughing all day long. To get your free trial of Total Sports Prep, contact them, info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. That's info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. Total Sports Prep, the name says it all. All right, and meanwhile, it's time now for the Red Sox Report, brought to you by Moynihan Lumber. Check out their their complete line of Anderson windows and doors at any of the 3 locations in Beverly and North Reading, Massachusetts, and Plastow, New Hampshire. So, Red Sox get it together again last night. It jumped out to a 6-0 lead. It got a little scary, but nevertheless, they hang on in this one. It's play cut number 1. The Red Sox sort of put it out of reach in the bottom of the 5th inning. Connor Wong with a bomb.
Swinging a drive, sucked down the line. It is gone. That's a 3-run jack. 6-0 Boston. Connor Wong touching them all for the 11th time this year.
Where he makes his living, huh,
Obi? They were Brian and Sweet Lou Merloni on the call last night on Nesson. So that's the only highlight I'm going to play there. That was the big hit of the game. But Carter Crawford carried a perfect game into the 6th. He was awesome last night. And Connor Wong highlighted that 12-hit attack with a 3-run homer. Red Sox beat the slumping Rangers 9-4 on Tuesday. Rob Refsnyder and Nick Sogard also drove in a pair of runs apiece. The Red Sox dealt Texas their 3rd straight loss, and they're 1-6 now. The Rangers in their last 7. Crawford was able to retire the first 16 batters he faced. He got enough offense support for Boston to hold on against the Rangers. Defending World Series champion Rangers, by the way, dropped to a season worst 10 games below 500. They're 55-65. Manager Bruce Bochy ejected in the middle of the 6th, arguing a called 3rd strike that ended a 4-run rally as the Rangers got back in the game. Red Sox won for just the 2nd time in 6 games, despite some shaky relief after Crawford was lifted in the 9th. So Crawford was pulled after Simeon's double and received a warm ovation from the fans at Fenway. They were less forgiving when reliever Kane Boozer allowed an RBI single to Josh Smith and walked Adolis Garcia and Nathaniel Lowe with the bases loaded. That was it for him. It left to a course of boos. The Red Sox lead was cut to 6-4. But Red Sox found their offense once again and got it going. So in the in the trainer's room, left-handed pitcher James Paxton was placed on a 15-day IL with what was thought to be a strained right calf. It was actually a partially torn muscle, according to Alex Cora. So said it was a long shot that Paxton, who came to the Sox in a trade with the Dodgers last month, will be able to pitch again this season, but was hopeful Paxton could improve over the final few weeks. See, the Red Sox are doing this with smoke and mirrors. It's probably going to catch up to them. I'll still enjoy it for now, but the pitching is so depleted, and you lose Paxton for the rest of the year, more than likely. Tonight, the Rangers have not announced a starter to take Nathan Eovaldi's spot in the rotation, but the Red Sox will start right-handed pitcher Tanner Houck. He's an all-star. He's 8-8, a 3.02 ERA. So there is your Red Sox report, brought to you by Moynihan Lumber. Check out their complete line of Anderson windows and doors at any of their 3 locations in Beverly and North Reading, Massachusetts, and in Plastow, New Hampshire. So there you have it. Meanwhile, let's get to some more scores from yesterday. Might even play a highlight or two here, Angel. Starting at the top, no highlight here, but Cleveland over the Cubs by a score of 2-1. This was interesting. The Yankees got back on track after getting spanked by the White Sox a couple of nights ago. They won last night 4-1. It was the Juan Soto show, Angel, and it started. Well, let's see. Let's go to cut number 3 with his 2-run homer in the top of the third.
Soto drives that in the air to left field. Benintendi back, looking up, and it is gone. Juan Soto goes oppo and adds another ballpark to his home run list. His 31st long ball this season, and it's 2-0 Yankees.
All right, then let's go to the final cut. Let's see, before we get just a couple of the cuts, Juan Soto continued in the top of the 5th with another bomb.
Soto drives that the other way again. Guess what? It's gone. Juan Soto goes oppo again. And it's 3-0 Yankees.
And that was Yes Network. And just for good pleasure, in the top of the 7th, Juan Soto does it yet again.
Come on.
Soto drives it in the air. Deep right field. He has done it again. Juan Soto, his first career 3-home run game.
All right, thanks to the Yes Network there, and also from NBC Sports Chicago. So he accounted for all the runs the Yankees RBI Juan Soto did last night. 3 homers, and the Yankees, they needed it too. The Yankees beat the White Sox by a score of 4-1. They actually moved into first place because the Orioles lost to the Washington Nationals yesterday as well. All right, elsewhere around the major, Cincinnati beat St. Louis 4-1. Houston over Tampa Bay 3-2. Let's play the first cut there, because guess who did it again last night for the Houston Astros in the top of the 5th inning? This from Space City Home Network.
Repeat of the game on August 2nd as Alex drills one deep to left field. He's done it again. 4 consecutive games with a home run, and the Astros take a 2-1 lead. Breggy is hitting bombs on a regular.
There's the 4 fingers. At this rate, you may have to treat him like that. Breggy bomb showing up here, the trap.
Yeah, not only him, but that was, 4th game in a row with a home run. Jeremy Pena homered as well, and the Astros win 3-2. And also Bregman made an unbelievable catch in this game. Do we have that highlight? Let me see. No, but you know what? In that game, Angel, let's cut down to cut number 4. This is pretty funny cut. The Astros, Jordan Alvarez, I think he busted the Tropicana Field video board.
So did you shoot for the scoreboard, or what was going on there?
Bueno, tú me estás poniendo en problema porque tú fuiste que lo posteaste, y si no hay un video que pruebe que fui yo, ese bill no lo pago yo.
No, you're trying to get me in trouble. You're the one that posted that picture. If there wasn't a video showing that it was me, I don't know who it was, because I'm not paying that bill.
Some say it was you, so are you denying it, or you got it?
Me falta video. Mucha gente dice que van a estar video y yo los apoyo. Si no hay un video, no fui yo.
I don't know, we're missing the video, and there's not a video. A lot of people are asking for the video. If there's no video, I don't know who it was.
You did it once at Minute Maid too in 19. I mean, when you know you can reach a scoreboard, is that when you're kind of trying to show off in BP? Is that something you're trying to just see how far you can hit the ball?
Sí, ese sí sé que fui yo, porque no pasó nada, la pantalla se arregló.
What's he saying, Angel?
Nada, creo que a veces sí quiero ponerle un poco de intención al swing en la práctica, y bueno, ahí salen esos retazos.
Yeah, that one I know. And that one I know it was me. Obviously, nothing happened to the scoreboard in that one. But, yeah, sometimes at BP, I tried to put some intention into some of those swings.
Dubon said he beat you in a home run derby. Is that false as well?
No, sí hicimos un jonrón derby de 5 swings y él usó casi 20 swings para poder dar los 5 jonrones.
Yeah, we did a home run derby. It's supposed to be 5 swings, and he took about 20 swings to be able to get those 5. So.
Was the translation accurate, Angel, as far as you could tell? I trust you.
I was trying to answer you back, but I got, of course, my favorite landscaping crew here, so I wasn't trying to bring the mic hot as he's right outside the studio window. Hey,
I hear it.
But he said that the one part he kind of left out, and he says, well, I don't know if you really want to exaggerate it, but, if it pays me more money, I'll break every billboard that's out there. So,
See, that's funny. Now, why did that get translated? See, that's why I trust you. And these Spanish to English translations, I don't trust these translators that are working for the team because they don't want the player to look bad. But see, that's funny.
Yep, it is funny.
Meanwhile, I can't see you on my screen again, but that's okay. We're going to take another quick break because Bill Spiros is going to join us from the Boston Herald. I promise later on after 9 o'clock, more college football, more NFL sound as well, but some interesting stuff going on in the gambling community. And also Bill Spiros, a great columnist for the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst for bookies.com. We'll get his thoughts on a whole lot of stuff coming up next as the Pete Shepard Show continues here on a Wednesday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You want the best in sports and entertainment?
You got it. Now back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
Back here on the Pete Shepherd Show, here on the Coastal Sports Network, and just like a pro's pro, like I know he has us in quote-unquote queue, he's just standing by, and then just right there, right when we come back from break, the one and only Bill Sparrows joins us, a real media's pro from the Boston Herald, and also senior betting analyst from bookies.com, and there's a lot to talk about today. Good morning, William. How are you?
Good morning, Peter. Nice to be here.
Okay. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. It's interesting. I had my buddy Steve Buchanan on last week he's an analyst at DraftKings, a guy I did, fantasy stuff with for many, many years, and other outlets. And we didn't get into the tax surcharge stuff, but now I'm going to text him afterwards. You sent this to me yesterday, about 14 hours ago. And just the DraftKings news says, we always listen to our customers, and after hearing their feedback, we decided not to move forward with the gaming tax surcharge. We are always committed to delivering the best value in the industry to our loyal customers. Well, who would have been in favor of that anyway? But your thoughts, Bill, on this entire process? Like, we always listen to our customers. Is there anybody out there that would have said, yeah, tax more?
Yeah, this was the new Coke of sports betting. The all-time greatest disaster product rollout of all time, new Coke. This is the new Coke version of sports betting. There's a lot that went wrong for DraftKings there. Number one was the very condescending attitude that Jason Robbins in particular took during the earnings call toward the customers, basically saying we're so good and our customers like us so much that they're not going to bother to shop around, that they'll be happy to pay an extra 3% VIG, which is really what this was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember, kids, this was not a tax. This was a 3% VIG on every winning, period, full stop. That's all it was. There was an attitude that they took that basically said, look, we can get away with this because we can get away with this. The second mistake they made was not doing their due diligence on whether or not other operators would follow. A couple came out to shoot and said, we're not going to do this. But, you have to understand that most of these operators are tied to publicly traded companies, and we're in earnings season right now. So they really weren't free to comment on anything until they reported earnings. It's usually like a 2-week blackout period. So these other operators really didn't have the opportunity to respond in real time because of that. for instance, FanDuel, and we mentioned this last week, FanDuel reported yesterday, that's the third point
Yes.
on this. FanDuel reported yesterday 3 key points there. Number one, they crushed their estimate, their street estimate. Number two, they raised guidance for the rest of the year, meaning that, their outlook is much more positive. Number three, they claim they have 47% market share now in all the states that they're active in, which is massive. And when the final death blow for this ill-fated 3% VIG called the surtax was yesterday when FanDuel in its call said that we're not going to follow suit. And that left DraftKings sort of hanging, kind of like they never got the high five. It was sort of like that old GIF of Tom Brady when he's walking around. That's Jason Robbins right now. He's the Tom Brady in the GIF waiting for his high five, and he never got it.
But the surcharge was already going on with DraftKings?
No, it hasn't been implemented yet because again, they just can't do this. Even in it all, and we've talked about this. Every state has different regulatory or legislative hurdles, and every state sports betting is either run by a lottery commission, a gaming commission, a horse racing commission, or in some states, it's still a part of the legislature, still handled by the legislature. So depending on where you live, any change has to be approved by the regulators. So this would have really been in the nitty gritty of it. It would have been considered a change to their house rules. And those normally have to be approved by regulators if you want to change your house rules. So they faced that issue as well. So it was a disaster from the start. It was ill-conceived. It was deceptively marketed. And it was really a top-down sort of slap in the face to their customers and others who work with them as well. It was,
100%. I don't know how. I mean, take widget betting app number one or widget betting app from A to Z. Who the hell would ever decide to go onto a site where you're going to get a VIG of 3%? Like you said, it's like instead of making minus 110 to 100, it basically sort of like like minus 130 to 100.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
They pretty much. But do you believe, in your professional mind here because there was a threat by DraftKings to implement this VIG, automatically people must have went to FanDuel and a lot of other places, even though it wasn't in place yet. But just the threat of it, I'd be pissed. I'd probably be pissed off and not bother with that, And then you may not get those customers back.
Yeah, and you have to remember too the technology involved. They know how many customers they would have lost or may have lost already in terms of routine customers that weren't betting with them, that used to bet with them. So they probably had a lot of data backing up this decision as well in terms of, people who have done exactly what you just said would happen. So I got to believe it was a lot of, the planets were kind of lined up backwards, I suppose.
Yeah.
Instead of this way, they were lined up the other way. And the FanDuel earnings call was really to me, that was the final blow. I mean, you don't put out something like this at 5:30 on a Tuesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
If it was planned, I mean, you would have had a press release and you would have dropped it at 8 a.m. So it could have got a full ride. But this was something that they just kind of want to go away, I think. And I don't think it'll be revisited.
Can they recover from this? Can they get to the point where they're competing once again with FanDuel? I mean, I know they're competing with them, but
again, this is they're competing. I mean, the two companies still share 75% of the regulated space. So, it's not like a presidential election. You don't need the most votes. You just need enough votes. So if FanDuel is 47% of the market and DraftKings has 39 or 40% of the market, it's not good for them, but it's not the end of the world, hardly. I mean, they still have a path to profitability, but they're also looking to expand outside the gaming space. They bought lottery.com, and I think they're looking elsewhere, not necessarily in the content sphere, but more so in other gambling spheres. The push for online casino iGaming, it's the same thing if you ever hear those terms. It's basically online casino betting. That push is kind of stalled. In terms of states, there was a belief this year that maybe Illinois and New York might get to it. That didn't happen. I'm not sure it's going to happen. There was a lot of negative stories about gambling in general this year. Jonte Porter, Shohei Ohtani, a couple of other idiots in baseball. So I think as far as the legal regulated space, it's probably more a negative sentiment than a public sentiment right now, despite the fact that most states are overperforming in terms of tax revenue. So I think that expansion might have to abate. Next year is going to be a monster year for sports betting. This year was the first time since 2018 when the Supreme Court legalized sports betting. 2024 was the first year that no state legalized sports betting since 2018. This was the first.
Wow.
Because you have 38 states already.
Yeah.
You sort of run out. I mean, Florida, technically, because of the Supreme Court case, but that was done in 2021. Missouri, the other news of the day was yesterday, the Missouri Secretary of State cleared the sports betting ballot initiative. So there will be a ballot initiative in Missouri to legalize sports betting in November. So if that passes, Missouri would be the one state this year to legalize sports betting.
What's the holdup in all the other states, though? I mean,
again, every state is
the whole other now that attitude that if there's gambling, your life's gonna go to shit and all that stuff.
Well, that was part of it. I mean, that
I know it is, but the money is certainly good, outweighs the bad, and that money can go into a lot of hopefully good causes with that tax money.
Well, that's why you've seen it legalized in 38 states, and they just expanded it in Washington, D.C. this year. Now they have an open market there. So, I mean, to your point, you have 38 out of 50 states, or is it 57 states? I don't remember. 38 out of 50 states legalize it. There's probably 5 states you can take off the board that will never legalize it. So, you're really down to a handful of states that'll probably do it in the next year or two. Next year could be significant because you have Georgia and Texas up at bat again. For Georgia, this will be the 5th year that they've tried it. Texas meets every other year. So Texas legislature only meets every 2 years of the odd year. And they came close 2 years ago. But I think we've talked about this here. In the state of Texas, nothing gets on the floor of the Senate unless the lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, allows it. He's the president of the Senate. He's a lieutenant governor. And he does not bring votes to the floor that he can't pass with strictly Republican votes. So if they can get a majority of the senators in Texas on board with sports betting, it will pass next year. I think that's going to happen. There's been a pretty good shift. They've got a lot of wind at their back there. They have all the major league teams behind it now. But gambling is illegal in Texas, so they have to legalize gambling, then legalize sports betting.
And that amazes me. And
that'll be done through a constitutional amendment. So, and again, it's a similar situation in Georgia. I mean, Georgia has a lottery, but they don't have casinos or sports betting. So you have to, and the same in Missouri. It's always and the states that are left on the board, especially Missouri, Georgia, and Texas. Those are really the relevant ones for this discussion. All of those states require a constitutional amendment to be passed. Then sports betting can be legalized. It's a 2-step process. And if you look at the ballot initiative in Missouri, it says pass a constitutional amendment to allow gambling and also to allow sports betting and to allow a regulatory framework to control it. That's sort of the TikTok internal process of how this happens. So both of those states would have to, Georgia approves sports betting, Texas approves sports betting next spring. Then that would have to go to the voters next November 2025, and it would be legal effective January 1, 2026. That's the best case scenario for those states.
Do you think Massachusetts? Do you think Texas and Georgia look at Massachusetts back in the day with how heavy the number one lottery in the country? I don't know if that's still true or not. And then plus Keno, but never would. I mean, it was always sports betting was always like an afterthought. I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago that Massachusetts would have got and most of New England would have got legalized sports betting before Florida, I would have thought you were nuts. But that's exactly what happened. Do you think Georgia and Texas and politicians and I'm sure the people want it? But do you think they look at what Massachusetts went through? And I think the big mistake they made for years because the lottery commission, had so much power up there. Do you think they look at that and don't say, well, we don't want that to happen to us. Look at all the money that we could be making, especially in those two states, and nothing's getting done. Do you think there's any of that at all, or that the Eagles are just too big in those two states politically?
Again, you have to look at each state as a separate entity. The reason why sports betting did not pass in Georgia the last 3 years is because it had enough support, and actually it was very bipartisan in Georgia. You actually had a lot of urban Democrats in Georgia support it because they were going to get a lot of money, like you said. But what poisoned the well in Georgia the last 3 years, maybe 2021, the last 4 years, was they had election integrity bills pass every single year. And that was such a partisan issue that the people who wanted to cooperate on stuff, and it wasn't just sports betting, the people who wanted to cooperate on sports betting couldn't do it because of the atmosphere. I don't think you're going to have that issue in Georgia next year. I think they've sort of gone through that phase. And you also have, a big operation. FanDuel's opening up a big technical center at Georgia Tech. So I think the issues that were in the way in Georgia are gone, and you have momentum now because North Carolina has legalized gambling and Florida has legalized gambling and South Carolina is talking about it. Georgia is basically now surrounded, save for Alabama. I mean, it's Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina all have legalized sports betting. So that's a huge deal. The issue in Texas was much more the traditional, conservative Republicans that didn't want an expansion of gambling in Texas. So I think they'll be able to get enough of those on board in the Senate to allow that it's passed the House before. The issue is the Senate and the way that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who basically runs the state, the way that he does things. And that's, I tell everybody when we talk about Texas, just look at Dan Patrick's Twitter feed. If he says, I'm amenable to sports betting, go to Texas and start placing your bets because it'll pass. At least the legislature. Again, all of this has to be approved by the voters. It has to be approved by the voters in Georgia. It has to be approved by the voters in Missouri. It has to be approved by the voters in Texas.
But don't you think that, except for the holier than thou people that, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. Don't you think it would overwhelmingly pass in those two states?
Yes. Oh no, I agree. I think if a year from now, Texas and Georgia have legislatively approved the framework for sports betting that we discussed, I think those referendums would enjoy overwhelming support because they would be heavily funded, right? You would have a lot of money saying vote yes. You're not going to have a lot of money saying vote no. So you're going to have a ton of money when these things go to the polls, perhaps a year from now, pushing them to get passed. It'll be an organized, well-funded effort. And I think you're going to see that in Missouri, too. I would not count out this measure in Missouri. You're going to see a lot of money. Now that it's on the ballot, you'll see a lot of money. You'll see ads, in those markets, Kansas City, St. Louis, et cetera, to get this passed. And I would imagine you'd see the same thing in Georgia and in Texas next year if we get to that point.
Imagine how much money people lost not being able to bet for the Georgia Bulldogs legally the last few years. I mean,
I guarantee you that argument will come up.
Yeah,
Georgia's a favorite to win again this year. They're plus 350. So I can imagine that argument being used next spring when I'm watching these people online talk about this at 2:00 in the morning on the last day of the legislative session.
Let me get back to FanDuel and DraftKings and all the other betting websites. And I think you brought up a great point about, this company wants to bring in iGaming, lottery, all that stuff. I'm still waiting for those magical words to come out of your mouth. Online poker might be back someplace along the way. But all these sites are in competition with each other. So what do you think is going to happen with sites like FanDuel and DraftKings and all the other ones that are allowed to take? How can they try to one up the other, in your opinion? What's the next step? And is it going to be a copycat type of sort of situation? If one person gets the iGaming or the lottery, will another site be able to get that? Or what's the next step to one up and to do more prop bets? There's constant competition. So, how do you think this is all going to play out?
Well, that's the what is it, $380 billion question. I think you're starting to see, and again, I use this analogy a lot. The regulated sports industry in this country is kind of like a 17-year-old boy. He's sort of fully grown on the outside and mostly grown, strong, loaded with hormones, but not really smart. So on the outside, it looks like fully matured, but on the inside, there's still a lot going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of. So I think what we're
amazing.
seeing right now in the regulated space, like we saw with DraftKings and its ill-fated VIG, not a tax, is that you're making mistakes, right? When you mature, when you're 18 or 17, you might drive 85 miles an hour on a dirt road. And then you get a ticket and you realize, hey, I shouldn't do that. So they're still in the maturation phase. So you're going to have a few more bumps along the way. They are getting serious about, sort of industry-wide responsible gaming tools. You're going to see soon when players self-exclude on one website, they will be self-excluded across all the same websites in the same jurisdiction. That is coming. You're going to see when player gets limited for reasons that aren't necessarily, hey, I'm winning, they're limiting me. But if a player gets limited for, because they feel that he's doing too much with too little with too much, or too much with too little, you're going to start to see some cooperation among the operators in terms of responsible gaming. That's coming. That's sort of a, what do we like to say, a kind of leak.
Yeah.
Or an exclusive, or however you want to frame it. That's coming soon, very soon, actually. But to your point, the industry is consolidating like every other industry, right? You pick any industry you want, right? Any industry, automobiles. In the 1920s, there were like 50 car companies, right? Now we have a handful.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with sports betting. You had a lot of operators. Right now you have two operators at the top, FanDuel and DraftKings. They control anywhere between 70 to 80% of the market, depending on the jurisdiction.
Yep.
Then you have the second tier of operators, Fanatics, BetMGM, Caesars, and ESPN Bet. Between those four, they probably control anywhere between 15 to 20% of the market, depending on the jurisdiction. Then you have another tier of operators below them that are different in every state. That's the part of the market that's always shifting. The bottom 5 to 10%. There's operators coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. That's where the churn is right now.
Well, I can tell you this on the Hard Rock app. You talk about making
at Hard Rock. Because of Florida, I should have put Hard Rock in that second tier. Yeah, they are, because of Florida, they are on par with an MGM or a. But again, their eggs are sort of all. There are a few other states. Their eggs are sort of in one basket, right? They're mostly Florida.
I'll tell you, they're really enticing people. I mean, they have. I've been using it the last couple of weeks. 30% MLB profit boost. So you do a parlay or you just bet on one team, and they're going to give you 30% extra. It's like the opposite of this VIG that was going on maybe with DraftKings. They have 10% profit boost now, 30% profit boost. Is that common too? Because I don't check the other sites anymore except for fantasy football during season, but 30% MLB a boost for even a single bet or a parlay. That's pretty damn good, don't you think?
It's great. I mean, it's they would consider that that is a marketing spend for them because it's August 14th and the Olympics are over and football. I mean, I'm sorry if you're betting on preseason football, you want to self-exclude yourself.
Bet the under every single game. It's
exactly.
65 to 68% the last 5 years.
Yeah. So that's a marketing spend because it's a slow time of year. But other sites do, all the operators do that. And different customers get different offers. I don't bet a whole lot. I sort of bet my career on sports betting when I took this job 5 years ago and left USA Today. I tell people that all the time. I literally bet my professional life on sports betting. So $100 bet either way is not going to swing.
Paid off though, didn't it? Paid off.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But so I placed plenty of significant wagers monetarily and otherwise in my life. But for people like me who don't bet a lot, I get those all the time. Yeah. But again, that's just a marketing spend. That's just that's no different than Publix having a BOGO on soup.
I wish they'd have a BOGO on some cold cuts. I don't know. I can't believe.
Yeah, what, sliced listeria?
$9 for a pound of American cheese, and maybe if you're lucky,
I'd like a pound of listeria, a half a pound of salmonella. And
that's the thing. Boar's Head. Between a Boar's Head,
a third of a pound of listeria sliced very thin for sandwiches.
Yeah, it's it really is unbelievable. Oh,
I'm sick of the peanut butter.
I'm still a Skippy guy. I think the other stuff, like Jif and Peter Pan, even though there's a lot of they're still a little too sweet for me. I'm a Skippy guy through and through, creamy or chunky. That's the way I look at it, But anyway, all right, Bill. I could probably talk to you longer about the Red Sox, and they were keeping this together. I don't know how they're doing it, and they just.
Well, I had a column about that today.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. We got time. And last night we found out they lost Paxton for the rest of the year, more than likely.
The Red Sox are built on a foundation of pyrite, which, as you probably know, is fool's gold.
Yes,
and that was sort of the point of my column in the Herald today. There, the top three teams in the American League, one of whom they would face in the first round of the playoffs, most likely, if they were to get the third seed. They're 3-13 against Cleveland, Baltimore, and Houston. 3-13. They're 13-21 against the 6 teams that are ahead of them in the standings. So
just got to get to the Yankees, though. Just got to get to the Yankees.
That's the only team that they have a winning record against. But the problem is, let's say they were to get the first wild card. Whatever it is,
they're only 2 games behind Minnesota for that spot, and they're only 1 game behind Kansas City.
But the point is, those 3 games are all going to be played at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
unless
5 there,
or Houston or Cleveland. So not only do you it's a 3-game series, but all 3 games are on the road. The only way they get a home, they get that series as home is if they get the first wild card, they would have the home. But it's just not a good position for them. And if you just, again, it's just like anything else, right? If you're trying to figure out a game, how am I going to bet this game, right? It's all about matchups, right? How is a Patriots offense going to do against like Arlington High School's defense?
The Red Sox, you just bet the over just about every game. They're averaging the most in Major League Baseball, nearly 6.5 runs a game. I mean, I've taken the over.
That would be a good bet, but the problem is they've given up 9 runs or more in 6 out of their last 21 games now.
Yeah.
They just don't have it. And that series against the Astros, that is your AL wild card series. That 3 games, except it's at Minute Maid Park South which is in Houston as opposed to Minute Maid Park North,
Yes.
which is in Boston.
Yes.
So that weekend series against the Astros is all you need to know about the Red Sox playoff hopes. There are none. There are no playoff hopes. They would get smoked in the first round, and if by some miracle they got out of that, they would have no shot in the second round. So if making the playoffs, and maybe that's enough for this team, but the problem is even what they have isn't sustainable. They don't have a second baseman. Their first baseman is a lunatic. Their pitching is shallow. They don't have anyone who can throw a ton of innings. Maybe this kid they got from Pittsburgh might be all right next year, but the way this team is constructed, it's that's why I wrote what I wrote. It's really fool's gold. It's a mirage. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Smoke and mirrors. I said the same thing today. However, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate. First of all, Smith, that line in Moneyball. Scotty H, picking machine. I mean, Smith has had some unbelievable scoops the last couple of weeks. I mean, you could say, and a couple of big hits as well. Trevor Story took batting practice yesterday. If he could ever come back down the stretch, that could mean something. I agree with you. See, to me, it's about the starting pitch. I don't know how they're going to survive unless somebody.
Well, the problem is,
but they're keeping me interested, Bill.
Well,
still only a game back, and they're keeping.
That's what makes it.
That's what makes it. Just when I thought it was out, they pulled me back.
All the more worse, right? Because again, that's why I use the financial analogy in my column today. They're like a junk bond or a crypto market, right? It looks so enticing. They're so enticing to watch, and they are. And I've said that, and I've written that, and I believe it. I watch. They're fun to watch. But last night they played Texas. Texas is 10 games under 500.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah, horrible.
And I got some. Everybody forgets the Rangers won the World Series last year. Like nobody remembers.
Yeah.
So it is funny that they won the World Series last year. Nobody remembers it. They're terrible again. But the Red Sox, they do great against crappy teams. They don't do well against good teams, and they got to beat good teams in the postseason. And they just don't have the people to do it.
And on paper, you're probably correct. However, like I said to you before, you use the old Bill Parcells, story about just get in the tournament. I go back to Arizona last year. Arizona was a better team, I think, than the Red Sox were this year. But nevertheless, I just think, especially in baseball, if you get in, stupid, crazy things can happen from time to time.
Yeah, it is true.
They'd be huge underdogs if they played the Astros or anybody. Even though they've beaten the Yankees pretty well the last couple of years, they'd be underdogs against anybody they played. But nevertheless, they're a game behind. They're tied in the loss column of Kansas City right now, a game behind them, and they're only a game and a half behind the Minnesota Twins. It's absolutely.
They're gonna keep you on the hook. They're gonna keep you on the hook. What did Bane say? The Dark Knight Rise. We will poison their minds with hope. I mean, that was the Red Sox. I mean, that was the Red Sox for 86 years for most of us, right? And it's a nice little microcosm of it.
Well, you think darkness is your ally.
I was raised in it.
It's funny when you hear him do other stuff when he's acting and you don't hear the Bane voice. It's freaking hysterical. It's like, yeah, that's Bane. He's actually had a couple of funny lines in some movies, too. I was like, I can't take him seriously. I just know him as Bane, in Batman. And I thought you were broken. No. All right, Bill. Great stuff as always. Always a pleasure. Bill Sparrows, a great columnist from the Boston Herald and also senior betting analyst from bookies.com. Always a pleasure, my friend. Keep sending me those stories when they break. That was fascinating stuff. I didn't see that one coming. That was great. You sent it to me yesterday afternoon, and glad
I don't think anybody saw it coming, which was all the more reason why it stood out, right?
Absolutely. All right, my friend, great stuff. We'll talk
again
next week. All the best. There he is, the one and only Bill Sparrows here joining me on the Pete Shepherd Show on the Coastal Sports Network. We're a little bit late for a break. When we get back, some more college football news, some college football video, more NFL sound, as well as hour number 3 commences after this short break here with the Pete Shepard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you want the best in sports and entertainment?
You got it. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
Everybody, welcome back. It's hour number 3, the Pete Shepherd Show here on Hump Day Wednesday, August 14th. How's everybody doing today? Off to a good start here, at least in Southwest Florida, wherever you are around the world, around this beautiful country of ours in the United States, and around the world, from Canada to Kazakhstan. Hello. Greetings. Angel Martinez in the house as well. Got some college football news, a video, and some more NFL stuff to share with you. But Angel, what else is coming up today on the network? A lot of good stuff is happening here and continues here, and you're doing a great job in managing and editing and doing all that stuff. Besides being a sweetheart of a guy, but what we got coming up today, and again, maybe go through just initially quickly about the app. Your follow Angel's bouncing little thingy, bouncing ball, so to speak.
Well, later on we'll be having Martinez coming up here within the next hour. As we're quickly approaching 10 o'clock, the morning has gone by super quick. Dylan will be joining me again this morning as we'll get into, since he is currently a student at USF, we'll get some men's soccer update that they played their first game. I also believe their second one was not that long ago. We'll find out from his perspective as well when it comes to move-in day, which is always fun from a person who is attending the campus. So we'll get beautiful
campus that it is too.
Yeah, it is, and it's not that far away from the Yuengling Center. Obviously, where they play basketball. Also, the Yuengling Brewery that they just redid all, minus the tours, but the restaurant side, and it's right on the outskirts of Tampa. So there's plenty of places for young.
Yeah, he was around last year. I remember. I mean, the basketball games, the 2 games with FAU last year were just ridiculous. 2 of the best games of the year. In college basketball. But anyway, continue.
But we have, we're going to talk about that. A couple of news stories that are here locally in Tampa, which kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. But, it's people. It's the way they are. So we'll get into that, some MLB stuff and some others coming up. As far as the website, as we always ask you guys, and thank you very much, as you see posted on the show all show long. As you guys see, definitely on the homepage there at sr1029thegame.com. The live show. And the reason why I put it up there is because whenever Facebook or YouTube like to flag me for the past couple days for just idiotic stuff, and I'll call them out for it because exactly what it is, idiotic stuff. But you guys will never miss a show if you go up there on the website, right on the homepage. You can always watch it. And right next to it is the actual audio player. I cannot hit it, which is the digital sports station here. But then we'll get the double feedback. But if you guys are, I always say, if you guys are jumping in your car, and then you're heading on the road, then you can just jump into their live radio player. You guys can hear us live and then switch back to the video if you guys want when you get to your location. Also, you can text the show, call the show directly from there. And more importantly, right in that green box, and it's highlighted by 3 arrows pointing up, that's where you can download the app.
Maybe, you know what, Angel? I got an idea. Put a half-naked woman next to that. That'll get some traction.
Probably.
Put some hot woman there, a hot actress in some sort of a seductive pose. That, I'm serious, that will work.
It probably will. That, and well, to make it fair, I'll have to put some muscular fellow up there too.
Well, I don't care about fair. I don't care about fair.
Well, we got you guys covered there. But if you guys download the app, super simple, and then just follow the instructions. It's super simple to set up. It'll download on your tablet. On your iPhone, on your Android, on your PC, on your MacBook. It is compatible everywhere. So all you have to do is download from there. If you look at it or you look for it in the Apple Store and or the Android Store, you guys are going to find the old app. This will not be published on that market for at least another 3 months. It takes a while for it to get developed and pushed out there. So I made it easier for you guys where you can just download it directly from the website. You also see Rick Harrell's Sports Minute in the Olympic Series. You guys click on that highlighted bar right there. It'll take you to all these series that he had recorded while he was out there in Paris. Great job by Rick. Some of the
He'll
other
be joining us tomorrow, by the way, for a few minutes.
That's awesome. That's always a fun time with Rick.
Yeah.
But you guys
Look at you.
Yeah, well, that's for the Spanish play-by-play. Hold on, Jerry Ryan quickly texted in and says, "What's this shit? Half naked? Send." It's it's
no. I would
get
a picture of Scarlett Johansson and then like this. Have her go like that. You can do it. Come on, download the app. Download the app. And pick your favorite, hot celebrity, whatever you like. But you know how to do that. You know how to like say, here it is. Here it is.
Yeah. I'll throw something crafty up there for sure, as always. But the homepage has a lot of stuff loaded out for you guys. Also, don't forget, if you want to save a ton of money on your cable bill, visit Ayumas right there. Click on this link. You're going to save a ton of money on cable for sure. And they have 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, yearly plans. Save a lot of money by doing so. Also on the Sports Radio 102.9, the Game tab, you will see the lineup of shows. And when you click on the lineup of the shows, if you look at Pete, for example, you click on his, and then it will take you out, which I would have to switch the screen, but it will take you out to his Twitter page. So it's easy to follow everyone here on the network. Again, duplicated live show. Last night when Lloyd's show was on there. Tonight you will see Talking Hoops at 8 o'clock.
Awesome.
And you can also have the on-demand section, which I like to call the instant replay. So tweets made by Pete that are up there, for example, the morning show, this is from yesterday, but so you can follow along, a little bio about Pete. And then if you hit the instant replay, which I'm not right now, because again, we'll get a double audio feed, but you click on instant replay, and more importantly, overall on the audio side. So again, if you're on the road, you're out somewhere working out, you don't want everybody to see exactly what you're watching, well, click on the player over here where you guys can hear the audio download of the shows. And that's for every show up there. My show as well, and The Drive with Q, which he will be on later on this afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. So yeah, there's always something to do and something to see on the website. And it's a lot of work. And all we ask you guys every single time is just do us a favor. We would really appreciate it. Download the app. It does not cost you a dime. I know we say nothing when it comes to people at YouTube and Rumble. It doesn't cost you anything. It's like following someone on X. It doesn't follow you. It doesn't cost you anything. Just download the app. You guys won't miss a thing. And then if there's a notification that's pushed out there, like for example, if we had an outage of some sort, and if you have the actual player, the digital radio player, I can send a notification saying, hey, Pete and I just got hit by whatever, some crazy thunderstorm, and that's why you guys aren't seeing us. So download the app. We do appreciate it, and we can't thank you guys for the support, especially for the folks that are listening overseas as we are growing by leaps and bounds overseas.
And thank you for your service, everybody. And but I mean, even people who aren't in the service, we're getting tons of listeners all over the world. It's really unbelievable. And also, Angel, too, anybody on the network, whoever wants to, when they want to, they can feel free to click on my Twitter page or my Facebook page. If they want their shows on there, I got no problem with that. So if it gets them more viewers, tell them they're welcome to do it. I don't want them to feel that they have to ask permission, because all the shows here are great. So anytime they want to attach on, how we do the shows, what I'm talking about for all the video platform. If they want to click on to have a nice show on the Twitter page, on my Twitter page, that's fine too. Whatever I can do to help to get everybody as much exposure as possible is great. Rick says, now I have the urge to go out on Hillsborough Avenue with a sign that says, download the app. Hey, you know what? Get on the Skyway Bridge. If somebody goes on the Skyway Bridge, fake like you have a flat tire, I'm sure the cops will get very upset. Anyway, and say, download the app for Coastal Sports Network. You think that maybe you can bypass the ticket, and maybe the officer, if he's in a good mood, will let you go.
Or you know what?
How about a big banner on the Skyway Bridge?
That would be good, because as the cruise ships go by, then everybody would really be seeing it on the Skyway Bridge. But
hey, how about doing the show there live?
Oh yeah, that'd be
at the table in the morning. I can wave to people. We have to get a special permit. Would we need we need a permit.
Yeah, we need a permit.
We can't just set up shop on the Skyway. Oh, that would be awesome. Don't you think? What a background that would be.
It would be tremendous.
Oh man, it moved. Teacher B, what up? What up? Get it? What up?
But to kind of add to that, though, we can set up Rick. Maybe we have to reach out to one of these local adult dancing establishments and maybe have Rick down there on Hillsborough Avenue with the lady, and then pointing, Rick points to the lady points to download the app, and everybody like, what's going on? I had to just download the app. You'll see what's going on. So
is Tampa still the strip capital of the world, the gentleman's club capital of the world? It used to be. People think it's always New York City or Vegas. No, it's Tampa.
No, Tampa's got a bunch. They even have that Odyssey 2001, which is even incredible that thing is still around. Hasn't the outside? I have no idea personally about the inside, but the outside hasn't changed, at least since I've been here and since I've seen it on news stations everywhere. But yeah, Rick says he refuses to take his shirt off.
Even if somebody threw beads, can have a little Mardi Gras day. I don't know. Oh, man. Well, that's great stuff, Angel. Great information right there. College football news, we kind of teased this earlier, but the humanity. Really, Jim Harbaugh, what a trooper here. Former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh will no longer serve as the honorary captain for the Wednesdays, the Wolverine season opener, as he continues to prepare for the Chargers as the Chargers coach. Wolverines head coach Sharon Moore said yesterday that Harbaugh called Monday to say he won't be attending Michigan's August 31st game against the Bulldogs, not of Georgia, but of Fresno State. The team will celebrate its national championship in Michigan Stadium. According to Moore, Harbaugh said he wanted to remain focused on his first Chargers team and not take away from the 2024 Wolverine squad. Harbaugh's parents, Jack and Jackie Harbaugh, will stand in for him on August 31st. Jack Harbaugh, of course, the Michigan assistant of Bo Schembechler back in the day from 1973 through 79, and later serves as the head coach at Western Kentucky and Western Michigan, for that matter. Again, last week, Harbaugh was told because of violations that he can't coach ever in college football until 2028. So blah, blah, blah. He just doesn't want to answer any questions. I guess I'll forgive him.
That's
no choice.
He doesn't want to answer it.
I got no choice. Some other college football news. I mentioned it earlier, but it's worth repeating. The Texas Longhorns again, and Coach Steve Sarkisian is down to only 3 scholarship running backs right now. They lost Christian Clark yesterday, true freshman, tore an Achilles tendon in practice. It comes just 6 days after announcing C.J. Baxter, last year's opening game starter, will undergo season-ending knee surgery as well. So that leaves them with Jadon Blue, who appeared in 23 games in Texas, rushed for 431 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's expected to be RB number 1, at least for the time being. And behind him, the Longhorns have sophomore Quintrevion Wisner. He played in 14 games last year for the Longhorns, but only on special teams. And then they have freshman Jarrett Gibson, who was ranked as the number 2 running back and the number 59 prospect in ESPN's top 300 this year. So that's a big blow, obviously, for the Longhorns to lose your top 2 running backs. So, heading right into the regular season. And speaking of players lost, the Oklahoma Sooners as well. They got a bad news for them. Wide receiver Jaden Gibson. He's going to miss the whole season after suffering significant knee injury during fall camp practice last week. Brent Venables confirmed that yesterday. The junior from Winter Garden, Florida. That's near you, isn't it?
Winter Gardens?
Yeah.
Not that far away.
Yeah, not that far away. Was viewed as a potential breakout star for Oklahoma after catching 14 passes for 375 yards and 5 touchdowns as a sophomore last year. He's 6'5", injured the knee in practice last Tuesday, and a subsequent MRI revealed damage that will keep him on the sideline for Oklahoma's debut SEC campaign this fall. So, anywho, some really bad injuries in the SEC. Some bad news there. Angel, before we go to break again, I want to, if we could scroll down on my Twitter page, it's right after the Bill Sparrows tweet. It's at Always College Football, which is a great show on the ESPN platform. I think it's on ESPN2 or SEC Network, whatever. It's Greg McElroy, who does the show by himself. And I wanted to play this cut because it fits my agenda. It's only 60 seconds long, but here's Greg talking about the Miami Hurricanes and how they should have been, they've been disrespected by being ranked 19th. And I know that I think Greg had them as high as 8. But here's his thoughts on the recent AP Top 25 preseason poll.
And here we go.
One team that right now is not getting enough respect is Miami. Miami's at 19. And a lot of media members that are voting in this poll have probably been burned by Miami in the past. But Miami, I'm not going to look at the schedule in this exercise, has as good of a roster as 98% of the sport. So their roster from a talent standpoint across the board, yes, they're not in Ohio State territory. They're not in Georgia territory. I'm not putting them there. I think Miami can actually hold up roster-wise against just about anybody ranked between like 6 and 18. And in some cases, I might actually prefer Miami because I think they're really good at quarterback. I think they're really good along the offensive line. I think they're really solid along the defensive line. I think they have game changers. I think they have difference makers. They have high-level All-American candidates at multiple positions. I think when you look at Miami, they have many, many pieces that if they come together, they can beat anybody.
It moved. It absolutely moved. No, I love it. He's right. He's right. And it's a big test. You know, I think people, it kind of reminds me how people are looking at the beginning of the season, this year's Celtics, as opposed to previous teams. Even though those teams had more success than Miami. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going strictly on what's happened the last couple of years.
Right.
And I do think a guy like Cam Ward is going to make a difference. And they have got, you know, Xavier Restrepo, the wide receiver, is one of my favorite people on the planet to watch him play. They have got the talent. This kid, Damian Martinez, if you don't know, they stole him from Oregon State. He was one of the leading rushers in the country last year. He averages over 6 yards a carry. Absolute steal. And, you know, I understand they have a lot to prove. They have a lot to prove to me. I mean, they would have started off 5-0 last year. That Georgia Tech game really, that brain fart that Coach Cristobal had was really, it still lingers, but block it out. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Cam Ward, that's preseason ACC Player of the Year. And now we just have to go and get it done. And starting in the swamp, which I'm glad, it's a very tough test right out of the gate. One of the most hostile atmospheres you could probably go to start a season in the swamp, 3:30 on August 31st, Miami and Florida. That is going to be one hell of a game, and I am proud to say that I will be there. First time ever at the swamp. I'm very much looking forward to it. Can't wait. And it's going to be a blast, especially the pre-parties on Friday night. And by the way, if you're headed up that way, if you're headed to Gainesville, the big Hurricane pep rally, so to speak, party with lots of great deals on drinks and food is at Capone's. So if you know where Capone's is in Gainesville, I already have it in my phone along with my hotel room and all that stuff. That's where I'm going to be. That's where everybody's going to be. And I'll have some Facebook Live posts and stuff like that from there. But if you're a Hurricane fan and you're going to Gainesville, come to Capone's in Gainesville. That is where the big Miami Hurricane pep rally is going to be. And then there's we're going to one on the field or in one of the parking lots with a big tent that is for a lot of Hurricane fans that my buddy Lou set us up with. So can't wait for that. All right, Angel, let's take a quick break here. And then when we come back, we'll wrap this things up because you got stuff to do and get busy for your show coming up and some prep time, some much needed prep time that you're going to need. But we'll come back with a few closing thoughts here on the Pete Shepherd Show right here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost.
Let Pete do it for you.
Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
All right, back here, final segment of the Pete Shepherd Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. And to prove once again, college football, that you don't necessarily have to go to like a national championship contender to get nil money. Although I think Georgia Tech is going to be better than most people think in the ACC. But this just in, Pete Nakos breaking the story. College football, sports business, and transfer portals reporter 5-star offensive lineman Josh Petty. You might have seen his name in the news the last couple of days. He's agreed to terms of a 3-year roster value deal, as in capital R, capital V, roster value deal with an annual payment, Angel, of $800,000, which this with Georgia Tech, not Miami, not Georgia, not Alabama, it's Georgia Tech. Offensive lineman, roster value deal, $800,000.
Must be nice.
Thanks for caring.
Exactly.
Absolutely unbelievable. Actually, it isn't. Man, oh man. There's a picture of him like this. If you, I'll retweet it. Actually, yeah, let's put it up there. It should be the first story of the second under my Twitter page. After the show, which is being viewed by hundreds of people, which is great. So, oh man, there it is. There it is. Happy and handsome. You know.
Let me share this over here. Unfreaking. That's insane.
Yep. Landed a huge. They got him on Monday. He agreed on Monday. Huge addition from Brent Key and the Yellow Jackets. He's the 27th ranked player overall in ESPN's big. He's 6'5", 255 pounds. He's from Roswell, Georgia. So how Kirby Smart let him go, I guess you can't recruit everybody, even with Nil in this day and age. But he picked Georgia Tech over Ohio State, Florida State, Tennessee, and Stanford. He's the 4th highest ranked ESPN 300 prospect in the program's upcoming class, joining fellow in-state pledges and quarterback Dalen Penson, who's number 171, offensive lineman Demola Edwin, number 180, and Justin Hasselhut.
He hassled me?
Yeah, I don't know. It's no. I'm sorry, Hassan Huto, number 220. So Petty's pledge comes as the latest signal of the momentum building on and off the field at Georgia Tech. Key returns from his second full season in charge with heightened expectations after leading the Yellow Jackets last year to a 7-6 record. Of course, that horrible, pathetic game where Miami just said, "Here, take it." But Georgia Tech's 2025 class is still at number 26 right now, which isn't bad considering the competition they have to deal with. But this kid, offensive tackle, Josh Petty, and why not? Probably chose. This is where you wonder, did he know he was going to get that Nil deal? That's why he signed there. So he did. And there it is. It's 6'5", huge player, $800,000 a year. Thank you very much. A name you need. Let's see if he lives up to expectations. We were going to have Mia O'Brien today, but she can't. She is busy today, tomorrow, Friday. So we will reconnect with her next week. Tomorrow, Angel, huge show coming up. Joe Zagacki, play-by-play voice of the Miami Hurricanes, Rick Horrow at 8:30, Joe Zagacki at 9:05, and then John Meter-Perel at 9:30. That's your guest lined up tomorrow. If we could, Angel, I wanted you to hear this, and people hear this on Total Sports Prep. Be the last thing we get to today, because Angel has to get stuff done and get ready for his show a little bit later. It's under media. It's Charles Barkley on Dan Le Batard's show yesterday, and he talks about giving up $100 million to stay with Turner Broadcasting.
But the number one thing for me is my people at Turner get to keep their jobs for at least another year. That's all I was concerned with.
Charles, how much money do you think that you left on the table in making that decision concerned about others?
A minimum of $100 million.
Jeez.
A minimum.
Man.
Yeah, because I imagine it was a lot of fun to be you recently, right? In free agency, that had to feel good even as you're thinking to yourself in these meetings, because I talked to you a little bit at least. You're like, I'm not.
Yeah, 100%. It was a great feeling. And I want to thank all those networks for reaching out to me. It was really humbling and cool. It was humbling and cool. And so I really, it was really humbling and cool, to be honest with you. But I wasn't even like I said, Dan, even though they were throwing crazy numbers, I was like, damn. Yeah, but long as I got my people safe at TNT, man, I feel really good. Like I say, they're going to pay me to go and talk about nothing, so I can't look a give horse in the mouth.
Before we
Hey, Dan, I probably would have had to do an honest day's work if I went to one of those other networks.
Good stuff. Well, good for him.
You imagine though, Pete, leaving $100 million on the table?
Yeah, well, because he knows he's going to get that no matter what happens with him. He's going to get that. He will be with some network. There's no question about it. I'm trying to punch up this last story. And in honor of kids going back to school, I guess, but that's just me. It's my kind of humor. I can't punch it up for some reason. But the headline is, married teacher learns her fate after having sex with a 14-year-old boy in the classroom on middle school graduation day. That's, those are the kind of stories that you sit around the Thanksgiving dinner table and you tell. You share moments like that. All right, I'll just end the show on that.
Oh, good Lord.
Actually. Hang on a second. I may have actually gotten it. A married former junior high school teacher has learned her fate months after she pleaded no contest and charges to having unlawful underage sex with a 14-year-old boy on his graduation day. 46-year-old Michelle Salas of California sentenced last month to the maximum term of 4 years in prison following her guilty plea for having sex with a minor. She friended the 14-year-old at Sycamore Junior High on Instagram in June of 2021 and sent him 4 explicit photos of herself in the weeks before graduation. Then on the day of the graduation, Salas, who's a 20-year-old veteran educator, had relations with the kid after his graduation day inside a locked classroom.
Oh, boy.
The kid's he's a tall kid. Yeah. Anyway, well, there you have it. There you have it, everybody. Life in the fast lane. What can I tell you? All right, that's going to do it for this show. Angel, I know you got something coming up on Martinez and Company coming up a little bit. Why isn't that playing?
It's playing. I can hear it.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear it. So Martinez and Company coming up. For joining me today, some great stuff about the gambling industry, what's going on, a little thoughts on the Red Sox as well. I'll be back tomorrow, full show tomorrow at 7 a.m. We got Rick Horrow at 8:30, our sports business guru, Joe Sagaki, play-by-play voice of the Miami Hurricanes at 9:05, and then John McBrell at 9:30. Have a great and safe rest of your Wednesday, everybody. As always, bye.